James Bond is the epitome of dignified when it comes to film and film franchises. Like, he's probably the biggest one out there. And for years, we didn't know who our next James Bond after Daniel Craig was going to be. And then all of a sudden, they announced this recently that is going to be, what's his name?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah.
So we think it might be this dude. We think there's like a lot of rumors on the table that
there's
maybe
rumors.
It's this dude. We think that maybe he's been sent a contract, and if so, we'll know in a few days. And so like that came from like an insider source, but this is still very much insider baseball as to whether or not this guy's actually going to be the person or not.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think of the selection if he is?
Well, let me dial it back. Let's talk about some previous James Bonds, and let's go from there and just say in what they brought to the franchise. You're Sean Connery. That's just he set the template. You're gonna get magnetism, sex appeal, confidence, controversy later on, but that wasn't then. At the time, Sean Connery was it. That was the James Bond. And then after that, Roger Moore. Very different guy. Very different vibe in his movies. You get a little more comedy, a little more realism, a little more practicality coming from him because he wasn't a fit guy. You know, I mean, he looked like a guy, and he was a little bit more approachable, that kind of guy. And then Timothy Dalton, you got your dark edginess for like a couple movies in the 80s. Then we got to Pierce Brosnan. And Pierce Brosnan, like, that was me growing up. That was the James Bonds that were coming out. But then now looking back, I'm like, he was pretty, but he was like, it was very gadget focused because hell, Pierce Brosnan couldn't even drive a manual car, let alone like, was he good at fist fights? All right. So Pierce Brosnan was definitely pretty, flirty, very gadget heavy. And then you got Daniel Craig. And Daniel Craig was gritty. He was tactical. He was practical, and he was fallible. He got his ass kicked. You never seen James Bond get his ass kicked like Daniel Craig got his ass kicked in a lot of these movies. That was a realism, and I definitely appreciated that. Now, 80% confirmed on Aaron Taylor Johnson. What is he gonna bring to the franchise? What more stories can we get out of James Bond with this guy?
Okay, first off, I'm taking lots and lots of offense to your assessment of Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
I think he was a really good Bond. I think that he did what he was supposed to do. He gave you eyebrow. He gave you charisma. He gave you mysteriousness. He gave you Bond. He actually looked like Bond, the character from the books. Like, we're not going to talk about the writing during those movies that he was a part of.
I was about to say because
he got the script. Okay. He came to work. He got the exactly not one, but he came to work. He got the script. He said, "This is what you want me to do. This is the type of Bond you want. All right, let me do it." And he did that to the best of his abilities.
He was flirty.
Okay,
so we're just going to leave Pierce Brosnan's Bond out of this. Yeah. He was very pretty.
Yes, he was. But Daniel Craig was a different type of Bond. Very, very true. And I think you kind of have to wonder like how much the actual actors' personalities go into what the writers decide to write for those specific Bonds movies that they're going to be working in as the lead man. You know what I mean?
Which I think
we know very little about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah. At least I know very little about him. So it's just like, okay, what kind of guy is he? What kind of Bond is he going to give us if he's actually, in fact, the Bond?
And, you know, I feel like that in itself tells you a lot, kind of like with the Doctor Who, where it's like they have to announce who the Doctor Who is, and then they write to that person. Like say that with James Bond, who's the actor playing it, and then they write the films to that actor. When usually you would think like, oh, it's the same character. Shouldn't it just be like, you know, the actor adapts to the script? No, it's the other way around because each one is a different one.
Right, and maybe that's the reason why they took so long and you would think went through so many different actors or so many different choices before they finally settled on him.
There's a couple other choices on the table. This dude is not the only choice on the table right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah's got the tea.
Yeah, so like there's now like 80% of all bets on a new favorite. Like that's kind of what's come down the pipe. So like this dude is definitely a forefrunner, as is Henry Cavill. But this other
Henry
dude,
Cavill, baby, absolutely.
Right, we love Henry Cavill. We love.
I was saying to myself that if they give this guy the role, they're going to have to give him the Henry Cavill treatment.
That's what I thought. I'm like, what happened to Henry?
Right.
So James Norton is this other person that they're considering.
James Norton.
Yeah.
I have to Google him. I'm sorry, James Norton. Sorry, James Norton. I have to look you up. James Norton. James Norton. Oh, handsome man. Obviously.
Yeah, not a bad looking dude. Not a bad looking
Happy
dude.
Valley, Nowhere, McMuff. Yeah, a lot of these movies I've not seen. Oh, he was in Bob Marley One Love, but I mean, obviously not the main character, so I could not tell you. Yeah, I've not seen any of these movies.
James Norton. This is Regine Payne. I have no idea who that is.
Strong jawline.
He's also
strong jawline, right? Yeah.
Another actor with a strong.
I mean, if he can break out of a jail cell with that chin, but I can tell you, Aaron Taylor Johnson was in Kick-Ass, the Kick-Asses, both the Kick-Ass movies. That was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Never seen.
Okay, cool. It's just me who's seen the Kick-Asses. Cool. Those were a great series, great couple movies.
This guy fell onto my radar with the announcement that he might be Bond.
Exactly, right? Which got onto most people's
At least Regé-Jean Page, I knew. Like, Bridgerton was all over the place. And we thought for the longest time that he was a serious contender to play Bond, which would have been great. Because, blondes, like you said, I mean, Bonds have, historically, they've all been white guys, which, I mean, it's fine. It's a story that really very much plays to that trope and that stereotype. But you just... in this day and age, and with all due respect to the producers of Bond, because I'm in awe of those women, but let's try to I would think, and what a lot of people wanted is to try to open it up a little bit more and try to give us something different. You know what I mean? It was like saying that certain people could. It was just like saying that they don't think that it could work, or we don't know what the reasoning is behind it. Maybe they just want to stay true to the story and the books and that they were
British
adapting.
Racism,
I didn't say all of that.
Can't get around it.
I did. I could say it.
No, I could say it. Maybe you say it then. Everyone, my mouth stays shut.
Racism,
but it's just they were just a lot of actors. Like, and it's not. You can't even say that it was British racism. I just really think that
it's always a sprinkling. It's not the main thing, but it's always a sprinkling. It's the seasoning they use.
Who was it that played Lashana Lynch? She was a black female Bond. And she played Nomi in No Time to Die. And it was just like, there was just great appetizer of, okay, here's the franchise. We're moving into the future. We're doing things that America itself wouldn't do. And then...
it's refreshing. It's something new.
Right. And for some reason, they just decided, okay, well, if we're going to make this movie again, we're going to make it with a guy. And, the guy's going to be white. It's going to be the same formula that we used before in the past. And we're playing off the guy to, and the fact that it's a major franchise to sell this thing, which like I said, you know what? You're about your money. This is your movies cost over $300 million to make. I am not the one to tell you what to do and how to do it. But it would just be nice.
In every single
if
Bond
we had a
movie,
little bit more than just Nomi and Lashonda Lynch doing, that little bit part, which was not a little bit part because she was magnificent in it. But just give us a feature.
Give us something new. Change it up. What more?
Give us
the James Bond franchise needs an enema, okay? That's what it needs. Jenna Bond. Give me Jenna Bond, okay? Like, I'm fine with that.
Jenna Bond would have been great. Give me a little spin-off franchise. Everybody, just give me a little streaming service of a Jenna Bond. Like, give me, just validate my existence and my possible double life as a spy. That Umana Hari existed. It was a real thing. It was just
Bond. Jane Bond. I'm like, hell yeah, give me a Jane Bond.
It's like they hold this character as Bible, and if you're gonna do that, that's fine. And this is what you're gonna give us, holding that character as Bible. Then I guess we're still gonna watch it. It's not to say that we're not gonna watch it. It's just in an ideal
I'm looking
world,
at it. Every James Bond movie has always made way over money back, like hand over fist. It's always
100%.
But they can't keep leaning on it, is what I'm saying. And if it is Aaron Taylor Johnson, like I said, he did the Kick-Asses. It was action comedy. So if that's going to be their new angle with James Bond is hey, you're going to have a little bit of a laugh with this, or he's going to be a little bit more infallible, like he can take, he'll get hit like, ah, and then punch back, kind of like how Jackie Chan did. Okay, maybe we can work with that, but it's like, it's gotta justify its revitalization. Because what was the last Bond movie that came out was 3 years ago. I mean, give us a breath, okay? Like, give us a breath before we start another, a new line of James Bond movies. Of like, okay, cool, No Time to Die, beautiful thing. Don't wash it away 3 years later with, hey, it's like, hey, here's a new Spider-Man. Hey, here's a new Spider-Man, like they did in the past. I'm like, give us a break, okay? Give us a minute to, have our moment with the end of Daniel Craig, and then start a new one. I'm like, 3 years later, man. I'm like, okay, come on, guys. Like, did you have no other new ideas?
Like
I think they put Daniel Craig to bed.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that's 5 on production. You know what I mean? You know that you're like taking out a movie for a year for release. So like even if they started production tomorrow, we're still not going to see this movie for another year minimum. Probably
2026, probably.
At least.
Yeah.
So like
I would give it 2027 with the way the industry is going right now.
The way it is playing catch up.
I feel like they've put Daniel Craig to bed. They've tucked it in nicely. They've supplied him with milk and cookies. They said thank you very much for doing your job. And they've put a couple of dozens of thousands of hundreds of millions of quarters under his bed and said, "You may now
did
rest."
Good. You kissed him on the forehead like, you did good, Daniel. You did it, Daniel.
Exactly. Thank you so much that you brought us back. So the fact that they've taken 3 years to even come to this point where it may be announced, because like this information, there's speculation for years, but this information where somebody might be signing a contract didn't just come out of willy-nilly. A source didn't say this. Like, this probably came somewhere directly from that camp, which means 3 years is a long time to be auditioning people and checking backgrounds and vetting and being like, could you possibly be our Bond? Meet with our writers, meet with our potential directors to do this.
Do you think they already had a script 3 years ago? I don't know that they would have had a script 3 years ago.
You didn't have to have a full one, but I mean, enough for auditions.
The way those women do things, they probably do. I mean, this franchise is like a small country. James Bond is just literally a small country. Like, this franchise don't joke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Hold on a second. I'm counting how many there were. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 James Bond movies. 25. That's a lot of Bond. That's a lot of Bond, baby.
That's a lot of Bond, and I'm really thinking that they're trying to make this a legacy where they'll have more Bond. This is probably the only movie franchise that they can reboot over and over and over and over again, and people will still go for it.
But then it's also Bond post Cold War. They've proven that yes, that is a viable, like, Bond's still viable after the Cold War, because that was the reason for James Bond. But then after the wall fell, it's like, okay, who's the new enemy? And they've been able to still like keep it alive, whatever. Like, okay, hey, there's terrorism all over the world. Bond can fight them all. And so, like, okay, so we can say like it's test the time. They can do it. So, but we're gonna see how they're gonna do it. We don't know.
Well, that's very true. I mean, Barbara Broccoli, she is fantastic. She is brilliant, and she's running the show. So, and when a woman runs the show,
things get
we're
done.
In good hands.
Things get done.
Good hands.
There's a lot of news surrounding if it is going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. There's a lot of people that are upset with his background.
Why?
There's a lot of like anti-Semitism happening in regards to him being cast.
Is he Jewish?
Yeah, he's Jewish.
I thought he was being anti-Semitic. I'm like, no,
the other way. People being like, I won't go see the movie if you're gonna cast a Jewish dude. So like that's a really hot button topic, which is
British
great.
seasoning.
So like that's definitely up on the conversation right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. We'll see.
That's not gonna be my conversation. Sorry. That is a hot button ticket that I feel like if you don't have enough information, just don't. I mean, stay out of that one. But hopefully, hopefully their backups are ready to go. If that's the case.
I have a question. is it a good look to have a Jewish Bond with everything that's happening with Israel right now?
Well,
Is that where Hollywood wants to take it, or do we want to like again try to play the like life and art are separate?
I mean, again, it's 2027. We'll see what the how things are looking then. And I'm sure that's what they're weighing.
Okay, listen, the world's on fire now. It'll probably still be on fire in 2027. Like, we'll just have a little bit more ashes to deal with.
Let's just say, you know.
Oh, because the eclipse is tomorrow, right? So, you know, all cell phone services going out.
Oh, it didn't.
We're done for.
Is it the 8th? I thought it was the 8th. I don't know. We'll get around to it.
No, it's tomorrow, isn't it? The lunar eclipse or in Libra or some stuff like that. Okay, anyway, I'm just saying the world, this topic, a lot of other topics, they're what Hollywood is supposed to be talking about. You know what I mean? And I just really feel like Hollywood is itself, they're just not ready to talk about it in film format just yet because they're still trying to sort it out behind the scenes. So it would really, really suck if they released this news that Mr. Taylor Johnson is potentially the new Bond and then have to pull it back because of all the conflicts that are going on around the world and the anti-Semitism that, by the way, is not new. It's not new.
That's always been there.
And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, really hot button topic right now, given what's going on in the Middle East. It would suck for the producers to, for them to have to pull this information back and say we need to recast because some people are angry about it. But I mean, if they're going to do that, then why not just cast a black James Bond?
Just do it.
If you're gonna capitulate to that sentiment, just cast the black guy and deal with the outcome of that. I mean,
or do it.
At that point, anything's fair game.
Go for broke.
Can we get LaShonda back? Can we get LaShonda a payday, please?
Okay, get it back in. Okay.
I literally thought when I was watching that movie that they were setting it up for her to be the next James Bond.
The new 007.
The new 007 or Jane Bond or whatever it is. Yeah. It was like watching the American election thinking, okay, Hillary's going to win. And then all of a sudden the Electoral College comes and just shoots your dreams down. And then we're stuck with you know who and January 6th, right?
Yeah.
Hollywood. This is it's like Hollywood showing its political colors. If people are going to say because this guy is Jewish he can't be Bond, then it really does not get any more political than that.
It also would show cowardice on the production's side if they think that's a deciding factor for things. It's just like, oh, well, what if the news? We shouldn't do this, whatever. It's
but that's Hollywood. That's what we talked about last week of like having a political opinion about stuff can get you fired from a show.
I mean,
we just saw that.
Gal Gadot with the Wonder Woman franchise did not help her by her stating her opinions. So, yeah.
No. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real thing because it's all about funding partners. It's all about like where's money coming from and like what's that going to do to your box office? You know what I mean? If that's the energy you're getting out from the people that are going to your box office, that are your diehard fans. That is something really you've got to take into effect. And that sucks. It's incredibly shitty that that's where we are.
Our entertainment, their paycheck.
But how much control should the fans have in your narratives, in your business decisions? When at the end of the day, a lot of what we hear is just fodder. Like, you know, it's baseless fodder where people are like, they're going off of rumors and the conjecture. So like, how much do you bend to that and be like, oh, okay, well, just because people are saying this, that means we can't do this. Like, they haven't even made anything yet. You know, this is not a screening where they're like, oh, okay, let's test what we've done so far. Like, it's not even that. It's just people running off at the top of their lungs at something that they think that they know, which hasn't been confirmed. So as a business person, as a producer, as somebody in Hollywood, as an industry exec, how can you say, well, we need to make sure that we keep these comments in mind as we proceed with our pre-production, production, etc.? How do you say like they have that much control? Do they? They really should they even have that much control? Absolutely. Like, Die Hard come on, diehard fans
I
are
mean,
not diehard fans. How do you figure that you're going to tell me how I'm making what I'm making when I'm done making it? You're probably going to go watch it anyway.
You may not though, and that's the thing. It's like it's how much are you making back on your box office? And right now, box office is so finite compared to what it was even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. The reality
They're
is
desperate.
the economy is harder now than it was 5 years ago. The people that have expendable money to go see your movie are your middle class and up. They're not the everyday person. It's $14 for a movie ticket, another $14 at the concession minimum.
And
You know,
2
if you
hours,
say
3
concession,
hours of your time.
I don't stop at I don't see the concession. There's a big old block for the concession.
No. I go to concessions
You know what
so
I
I can
mean?
get
Like-
like a coffee or something. So I need to I
Yeah.
can put the contents of my flask in. Like that's why I go to concessions. You know.